When we look at the beginning, Genesis isn't just history. It is actually a deep reveal of how divine order is constructed in the universe. The core theological pattern woven throughout creation is this powerful, repeated act of divine separation. Notice that the Creator didn't just snap everything into place, all at once. The initial work involved dividing and establishing firm boundaries. It is specifically through this act of setting things apart that structure, purpose, and function are established in the world. Because the original state was formless and completely void, the very first divine move was to inject order where there was only absolute chaos. This instantly teaches us that true, lasting divine order doesn't come from mixing everything together indiscriminately, but from clearly setting distinct boundaries. This established pattern is the key takeaway. Genuine, working order always begins with a decisive separation. The Bible paints a picture of the initial world as empty, covered in darkness, and surrounded by formless, chaotic waters. Before there could be any light, any living thing, or any substance, the foundational work of separation had to occur first. This reveals a crucial point. Establishing what something tangoi, I see often requires clearly defining what it twindy. I is not to. Day 1 starts with the magnificent command, "Let there be light," which immediately sets the stage for distinction. But the power wasn't just in the creation of light. It was in the subsequent intentional act to separate that light from the inherent darkness. Theologically, this separation is God's way of defining the absolute difference between what is true and what is falsehood, between good and evil. This fundamental division establishes the necessary rhythms, like day and night, that allow complex life systems to function predictably. Light inherently brings clarity because it reveals what was hidden, while darkness, by its nature, is what conceals things from view. These two fundamental states do not coexist in a state of confusing overlap. God makes a definitive distinction for life to flourish. Ultimately, the building blocks of all divine order rest firmly upon this foundational concept of clear distinction between opposites. Moving into the second day, God addresses the colossal volume of water that was overwhelming the initial creation space. He enacts a vertical separation, creating an expanse that divides the waters above from the waters that remained below. This critical division immediately carves out the necessary space for the sky, the organized environment for all weather and seasons to develop. These established boundaries serve a vital purpose. They act as a restraint, successfully containing the potential for absolute chaos. This ancient narrative powerfully demonstrates God's absolute dominance over all the fearsome, untamed forces of nature through ordered separation. Where the ancient world saw only threat in the deep, Genesis shows a universe deliberately structured by powerful partitioning. The second day confirms that even immense, seemingly uncontrollable elements must be divided to serve a greater, organized structure. Following this overhead division, the ordering process continues on day 3 by separating the gathered waters into distinct seas. This action allows the dry land masses to emerge, finally distinguished and separated from the surrounding liquid domains. For any kind of stable life to successfully take root, the land absolutely needed to be clearly delineated from the vastness of the water. This pattern of dividing one domain from another consistently leads to stability, defined function, and ultimate purpose for creation. Without this fundamental separation between the elements, the entire developing creation would have remained merely a chaotic, unusable mess. Conversely, with these clear divisions in place, creation transforms into a stable, deliberate, and welcoming home for all subsequent life. This initial sequence reveals a profound theological principle. God brings ultimate order not through blending, but through purposeful distinction. From the absolute first moments of existence, the message is clear. Boundaries are the weapons that effectively defeat all forms of chaos. Disorder is actively and powerfully transformed into something meaningful only when a process of separation is faithfully applied. We learn that vibrant, flourishing life can only truly happen once everything is intentionally placed in its correct, designated location. This divine blueprint teaches us that the God we serve is emphatically not a God defined by confusion or jumbled randomness. He is fundamentally the God of careful structure, unwavering purpose, detailed design, and perfect, overarching order. Now, we must consider the stunning spiritual implications this initial pattern has for our own internal lives right now. Just as he separated creation externally to make a home, he separates within our souls to bring internal alignment. He actively works to separate the light of truth from the pervasive darkness that can gather within our very hearts. Our minds require the same sorting mechanism where clear truth is distinguished from the subtle, insidious lies that often cloud our thinking. In our daily actions, there must be a conscious separation between what is considered holy and what is actively unholy in God's sight. This requires the difficult but necessary work of distinguishing His specific loving will from our own deeply ingrained selfish desires. We must acknowledge that this process of spiritual separation often feels uncomfortable or even painful, but it is absolutely essential for growth, because God cannot possibly bring true, sustainable order into our lives until He first establishes that clear distinction between elements. It is crucial that we reframe our modern understanding of separation, which often sounds purely negative or like mere isolation. In the context of Genesis, separation is actually the powerful mechanism for achieving alignment with one's ultimate, God-given purpose. Light perfectly fulfills its divine purpose only when it is clearly distinguished and separated from all the shadows around it. Similarly, dry land can only fulfill its role as a foundation for life when it is functionally separated from the restless sea it borders. Likewise, your individual life finds its true, intended purpose when you deliberately separate yourself from the things that actively seek to destroy you. This understanding shifts the focus from negative cutting away to positive, purposeful positioning within God's design. Therefore, as believers, we are called into a practical application of this ancient ordering principle every single day. God invites you to actively separate your energy and focus from those destructive habits that constantly hold you captive. This involves making tough decisions to separate from the pervasive patterns of sin that naturally seek to drag you down into confusion. It means choosing to step away from the noise and the overwhelming cultural confusion that constantly tries to blur what is certain. The fundamental reason for this separating action is that God is diligently forming absolute order, profound clarity, and true identity within you. The very same powerful God who successfully separated light from shadow in the beginning is actively separating what truly harms you from what genuinely helps you thrive. He uses distinction as the tool to refine your life and bring you closer to His original blueprint for you. To conclude, the sweeping narrative of Genesis chapter 1 showcases a God whose nature is to order the entire universe through purposeful separation. This powerful, ordering divine pattern is not a relic of the past. It is actively at work in our complex lives, even today. God separates things, not because He desires to isolate or divide us from relationship, but because He intends to perfectly align us. He separates us so that we can be aligned with His unshakable truth, His eternal purpose, and His beautiful, original design for our existence.